Almost since the dawn of her history, India has been a land of farms. And once, 2,000 years ago, she led the world with her cotton and her spices. So advanced was she in her farming methods and so ingenious in nurturing the land. 20 centuries ago, Rome was paying, so they say, 50 million rupees a year for precious goods that only India knew how to grow. This was not because her land was more fruitful than any other land. It was simply because her people, with their advanced irrigation schemes and their scientific husbandry, knew in those days more about the job than anyone else in the world. For 2,000 years, from father to children, the farming tradition has been handed down. Even if they're only engaged in scaring away the crows from the precious crops, the children work in the fields almost from the time they learn to walk. In the farmhouse, the traditions are fixed. There is little in agriculture that is new under the Indian sun. In the village community, the traditions are fixed. The Aryans of 2,000 years ago, world-famous craftsmen, worked in much the same way as this man. But modern times have brought modern problems. Modern times have their own scientific farming methods, and intelligent farmers, realizing that they themselves are too old and hidebound to affect these newfangled changes, look to the younger generation. There are schools, practical schools of farming, to which the younger generation can be sent. These schools are little heard of, little known, but they're a striking experiment. They will one day be a powerful instrument in Indian progress. These children are new pupils at the farming school. As yet they know nothing but how to scare the crows. They pass through the familiar fields, knowing vaguely that things grow in fields, and that father is alternately worried and jubilant over the things that grow in the fields. They pass through the water, knowing only that water is useful in the fields, and that father is alternately worried and jubilant over there being too much water or too little water. At first it looks like any other school. Of course they ring a bell. Of course they have to do their morning exercises, a pleasure to these young bodies toughened under the lashing Indian sun in the wide fields. Second impression still is that it's like any other school. Reading, writing, arithmetic, and perhaps surprising, they seem to like it. Then comes the individuality of this school, a striking and original way of getting the fun out of farming. Toys they have to play with, and they make them themselves. Accurate little models of farming implements, ploughs and bullock carts and so on. Their first insight into the complication of agricultural machinery. Soon they graduate to learning how to make these implements full size, with their own hands. Maybe when they grow up they will never be any better than gentlemen farmers, but by these practical educational methods they will certainly know the problems with which their underlings have to deal. They even become smithies. India led the world in ironwork 2,000 years ago, and these children learn the tradition. And handloom weaving. India led the world in this too, and the children, as they ply the bobbins, become instinct with Indian culture at the same time. Then naturally they have to learn what their country looks like. They learn the ways of the rains and the winds and the various other blessings and discomforts of our climate. The land these children will cultivate when they grow up is pointed out to them on the map, not for curiosity's sake, but to show that it is the center of a vast complex of climatic influences, part of a huge national plan. And so they go out into the fields with a new eye, with a new, large and not altogether incorrect view of their own importance. They've lost the view already of the peasants scaring crows. They're well on the way to becoming scientific agriculturalists. They till the ground to get the feel of it, learning what will make a comfortable bed for the crops they hope to grow and what won't. They learn to recognize the different sorts of earth, not from half-hearted illustrations in a book, but from the soil itself. Their botany, too, is not based only on books. The specimens are not bought by a demonstrator in the local market and languidly handed round a bored group of students. Books are a preliminary, but they go out into the fields themselves for the specimens, lusty specimens fit for a farmer's approbation, a lesson in the qualities and textures of maize. This is their first contact with the life that they saw their fathers lead, going up to the crops and with pursed lips and a concerned look, pressing and fondling the season's crop. They have a grown-up look, these children. They know more than simply that the crop is good. They know why and how. Why and how. Two words that their teachers know will be signals to Indian progress. They learn to grow and tend and pluck vegetables which have some taste to them. Simple things to grow once you know how, but for some reason one of India's underproduced commodities. In a vegetarian country, these children are told that there's a good market in vegetables, and when they're told the amount of money they will make when they grow up, the arithmetic lessons don't seem so much a waste of time. And so, in good time, comes the fun of playing with water. Instruction, so the teacher calls it, in bunding and irrigation. To them, it's mud pies and education rolled into one. Bliss. The life-size demonstration with bullocks and a well is a familiar sight to them. Now they know not only that it is done, but why. They know with accuracy where the water should be made to flow, how to be economical and yet just to the earth they expect so much of. And so, at last, they get on to the things at which they marveled at from afar. Ploughing has always seemed to them to be the essence, the be-all and end-all almost of farming. And here they are at last at grips with the plough itself, the difficulty, complication, delicacy, ingenuity of keeping a deep and straight furrow. All this they gather up with eagerness. And at long last the bright child of the class is allowed to handle one himself. Bunding and irrigation were bliss, but this is bliss twice told, heaven. After the land is ploughed, after all of them have learnt to drive a straight and deep furrow, the qualities of ploughshares and their various merits, the ground is smoothed, ready for the seed. They learn the reasons, the whys and wherefores of planting the seed. They learn also the practical ways. This is the exciting time. Perhaps these children have all had gardens of their own, little snippets of land begged off father in which to grow flowers. And when the merest ghost of a blossom appeared, it was triumph itself, a birthday to shout about. But this is expectation and anxiety on a field-wide scale. And when they see the crops, it's a triumph all theirs, a crowded hour, before they start to sickle and scythe at their proud possessions, learning the last, or almost the last, duty of a modern progressive farmer of India. But they carry on to the point at which their precious possessions are fit to send out to the markets. These children, who would otherwise have been scaring crows and wondering languidly about everything they uncomprehendingly saw, have learnt to read, so that they can gauge chances and prices in the markets. They have learnt to tend their animals and their crops, not from an outmoded tradition, but from knowledge and science. And when at last they winnow their corn, they have a knowledgeable ear, which is based on a truly practical education. The schools which give this education are indications of India's desire to take up again that reputation she so proudly owned, world-leading 2,000 years ago. A reputation for the most advanced husbandry on this globe. And it is from these children, with their hard, practical, yet also bookish education, that India can expect a new dawn. From these farmers of tomorrow.